Have you ever heard of the phrase zone of genius, or the tip, make sure you work in your zone of genius? This is the idea that you are working when you're most effective, or working when your brain is firing on all four cylinders, or when you're actually the most alert and awake and energized. That's your zone of genius. However, as a mom, sometimes your zone of genius doesn't align with your kid's schedule or with the way the routine goes for the day. And if that's you, if you're a mom and you own your own business and you're trying to figure out how to be the most productive, how to get those things done that actually take brain work to get done, but then when your kids are actually occupied and being taken care of, how do you actually do that? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about how to trick your brain into getting into that zone of genius when it's convenient for your family schedule and for your kids' schedule, whether or not it's actually convenient for the way your brain works. So stay tuned in this video. So the zone of genius is the idea that you're working in a time period that your brain is genius. You're energized, your brain's firing on all four cylinders, you're thinking clearly, you're creative. This is where people do content writing. When people are an author and they're writing a book, they always try to do all the writing in that time period where their brain is functioning optimally. Now, for me, I'm a morning person and I love getting a ton of work done in the morning. My brain's thinking, I'm creative, I can type and think about all these different things, and my brain's just firing like crazy, and I want to capture all of those ideas, and it's all in the morning. Now, the problem is that I can't get up early enough for me to actually complete everything that I need to complete. I usually get up around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and still I can't get everything out of my brain onto a piece of paper, or all my content written, or all my emails that need a little bit more reply to them done in the morning, because then my kids get up and I got to get them the lunches packed for school and out the door and drop my daughter off at school and all these types of things. And so there's family responsibility that get in the way of that time period where it is my zone of genius in the morning time. I have figured out 5 ways to trick my brain into getting into that zone of genius when it's perfect for my family life, even if it's not a morning time. So stay tuned. Hey, if you don't know me, I'm a mom and a business owner. I'm a mompreneur, and I love helping other business owners and other moms systematize their business and create freedom through business systems, so they're not a slave to their business, but can actually have a quality of life, quality family life, and a thriving business all at the same time. If your business needs systems and you need help systematizing your business so that you can gain the freedom that you want, just click the link below and I'd love to chat with you on how I can help you systematize your business. So here are the 5 ways that I trick my brain into the zone of genius. And what I mean is that I actually use these 5 things to help me get into that state where I'm creative, I'm energized, and I can work effectively so I can be the most productive, even if it's a small amount of time. Because as a mom, you're only working, or at least for me, you're working in these small little slivers of opportunity. Oh, the kids are napping, kids are on a walk with their dad, the kids are at school, or those types of things. And so you have these moments of time where it works for your family life, but you may not actually be in a state where you can be creative. And so these are the 5 things that I use to trick my brain to be creative so I can be productive in the time that I actually have within the moments of life as a mom. The first thing I do is when I am going to actually get some work done, and I am like, okay, the kids are napping and I'm ready to go, is I make myself some type of a beverage. I love hot drinks. Usually I'll make myself like a homemade latte, a cup of tea, something warm that kind of reminds me of waking up in the morning, because I love something hot in the morning. And so I'm replicating my morning routine, but just at a different time of the day. So that way, again, I can trick my body into doing it. Now, if you're not a morning person and you're a night person, then maybe you have a different routine. But this is what I do to trick my body into being productive, even when it's not convenient for me, but convenient for my family life. So I make a hot beverage. The next thing that I do is I decide on the one thing that I need to get done during that time frame. I do this because of the Parkinson's principle. The Parkinson's principle states that your tasks swell to whatever time you've allotted it. So if I know that I have 30 minutes, before I need to go pick up my daughter from school, then I pick a task that will take 30 minutes. Now, maybe it's a 45-minute task and I'm like, I'm gonna try to squeeze that into a 30-minute task. So that way I am not wasting any time, because your time will swell, or the task will swell to the time you allow it. So I decide on the one thing that I'm gonna get done during that time and focus only on that. This also helps with procrastination. So if you're looking at your to-do list and you're like, wow, this one item has been on my to-do list for days now, and I keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, well, those are the moments that you can say, okay, I'm gonna do this one thing off my to-do list and stop procrastinating on it. You'll gain so much energy from not procrastinating on different things and getting things off your list than if you just bounce items from one day to the next day to the next day and they never actually get off your list. So by deciding, okay, this is the one thing that I'm going to accomplish in this time frame, then you actually can stop procrastinating on the things that need to get done that are stealing your energy. Now, speaking of energy, number 3 is do something that energizes you, gets your blood flowing. Now, I have a puppy, and so what I do is I'll take her on a little walk, or I'll go play ball with her outside. So I'm getting some fresh air, I'm getting some sunshine, I'm getting some, movement going. So my blood's working and moving, and I'm getting it oxygenated, and that's going to give me energy. Now, I always get that afternoon slump where I finish lunch and I put the kids down for a nap, and then I'm like, oh, now it's nap time for me. And so instead of doing that, I go outside to get some fresh air. It can only take a few minutes, but that few minutes will actually energize you for the entire time period that you have available for you actually working and being productive and getting things done. So let's paint this picture. I've got the kids in bed for a nap. I've made myself a hot beverage. I've decided the one thing I'm going to do. I've taken the dog on a walk. I've gotten some fresh air. I've gotten some exercise. I've gotten some vitamin D. I've gotten some oxygen. Okay, so now what do? I sit down at my desk and I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Sometimes if I only have an hour, I'll actually set it to where it only goes on Do Not Disturb for an hour. And oftentimes I'll text my husband and say, hey, I'm cranking for an hour. Don't, message me or whatever. So that way he knows that I'm not going to be responding for an hour. And this is really important to communicate that to your team or to your spouse. I'm in business with my spouse, so that's who I communicate with, so that they understand when I'm not responding, it's not an emergency. It's just I'm working and I'm not going to be doing that. And so put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Now, here's another thing. In Apple, you can actually put your important people in your favorites. And so if they need to call you and get through to you because of an emergency and they're in your favorites, they can actually bypass the Do Not Disturb. So if my husband really needs to get a hold of me, he will call me and it will bypass that Do Not Disturb. So I'm not really going to miss any emergency. A lot of times people don't want to put their phones on Do Not Disturb because they're like, oh, but what if? What if this happens? What if the school calls me? What if, my mom calls me for some reason? And so you have all these what ifs that rattle around in your brain and prevent you from actually being productive with the time that you have to work. So put your phone on Do Not Disturb. If it makes you feel better, put some favorites in there for your kid's school or their teacher, your spouse, whatever. So that way you're not going to miss something important from them and you can actually focus during that time that you've allotted to focus on your work. Now, last but not least, is I put on music. Now, not just any kind of music. My favorite kind of music to listen to when I'm really focusing is to put on cello music. And I always put on my big noise canceling headphones, so that way I'm canceling out all the noise that's going on around me, the banging outside because they're building a house next door, or, different noises, the planes that go by or whatever. Those are all distractions that kind of get you out of that zone. And so by putting noise canceling headphones on and then playing cello music, it actually gets me into that relaxed state, but I'm energized because I just had some fresh air and a walk outside and I'm ready to actually work. Now, with that being said, is I always have a time limit on how much I work. So if I'm going to work for longer than an hour, then I always break it up to about 45 minutes and then 45 minutes. And so that way I'm working for 45 minutes and then I get up, stretch my legs, walk around or whatever, and then I sit back down and do it. So when you put your phone on Do Not Disturb, you can set a timer for that or set a timer so that way you're actually focusing for that amount of time. And you're like, I'm not going to go check Instagram during this time that I am working. And you can utilize the precious moments of time to work on your business within your family dynamics and actually get you into that zone, into that groove when it's convenient for your family, and make it then convenient for yourself. I hope all these tips helped you, and make sure you subscribe to this channel and ring the bell so that way you get notified every single time I put out a video to help you have a business and a life that's fruitful, productive, and wonderful. I'll see you in the next video.